This is a story I absolutely don't like to begin with or report at all. A surge in virus cases, yet here we are talking about the third wave already. Has it arrived in India? The short answer is yes, it's almost here. Experts say the third wave begins this month. Numbers say it's in the making. For 7 straight days, India has reported a spike in cases, a steady increase, and India is not alone in reporting this trend. Countries around the world are fighting a new wave of infections. In the last 2 weeks, the United States has recorded a whopping 148% spike in new cases. In China, the Delta variant is driving a new surge. As many as 27 cities are reporting an outbreak. The Chinese press is calling this the worst outbreak since Wuhan. Australia too is reporting a major surge. The lockdown is being extended in Brisbane, and in Sydney, the military has been deployed to enforce stay-at-home orders. That's how serious it is. Do you notice a trend here? The United States, China, Australia, these are countries that said that they had tamed the Wuhan virus. So what explains these numbers then? A worldwide surge, daily global infections that have shot up to 540,000 new cases every day, almost 70,000 deaths every week. It's been 20 months since the first outbreak in Wuhan, and we still haven't been able to defeat this virus. Does that mean we'll have to learn to live with it? We'll discuss that and more tonight. First, let's talk about the situation in India. It's Monday, August the 2nd. India has reported more than 40,000 new cases in a day, and this is not a sudden rise. The number has been rising for almost a week now. In the last 6 days, India has breached the 40,000 mark every day, 40,000 new cases every day. On Sunday, 17 states and union territories had reported a rise in cases. So there's definitely a jump in new infections and a sustained trend. Experts say this could be the beginning of the third wave. 2 researchers from IIT Hyderabad and Kanpur have been studying the graph closely. These are the same people who had accurately predicted the peak of the deadly second wave. Now they have come up with a new model, and here is what it says. India may see another rise in new infections as soon as August, that is this month. How bad can it get? The researchers have projected 2 possibilities, the best and the worst case scenario. The first projection is the best case scenario. It says that the third wave will peak with less than 100,000 new infections a day. 1 lakh new cases every day. That's the best case scenario. What about the worst case scenario? Going by this model, India could see nearly 150,000 new cases every day. So if this model is correct, India's third wave will not be as brutal as the second one. When will it end? If new infections pick up this month, they'll hit the peak in the month of October. Remember, these are just projections. And if there's one thing that we've learned this summer, it's this. We cannot take this virus lightly. If a third wave is on the horizon, it's best to be prepared. The focus should be on vaccination. A majority of the Indian population is yet to be vaccinated. Look at the numbers. Close to 27% of the population has got 1 dose. India has a huge population and a lot of people to cover. 27% have got 1 dose. Almost 8% are fully vaccinated. The challenge is immense. So there is a risk of widespread infection. Now look at the United States. Almost 50% of the country is fully vaccinated, and yet the infections are rising. In the last month, new infections in the US have grown by 4 times. In the past 2 weeks alone, new cases have risen by 148%. Hospitalizations have gone up by 73%. But vaccines make all the difference. Most of these patients are unvaccinated. About 97% of those who ended up in hospital had not taken even a single shot. Most American states are reporting a surge. One of the worst hit is Florida. It has broken last year's record in hospitalization. America's top disease expert Anthony Fauci is predicting difficult times ahead. He says there is, quote unquote, more pain and suffering ahead.
So we're looking not, I believe, to lockdown, but we're looking to some pain and suffering in the future because we're seeing the cases go up, which is the reason why we keep saying over and over again, the solution to this is get vaccinated, and this would not be happening.
Despite having one of the biggest stockpiles of vaccines in the world, the US is bracing for more suffering. What about China? China claims to have administered more than 1.5 billion doses of Chinese vaccines. And yet, it has not been able to contain the Wuhan virus. China is reporting an outbreak of the Delta variant. Reports say people in 27 cities of mainland China have been infected. 27 cities. And China is cutting off access to Beijing. Reports say some flights, trains and buses to the Chinese capital have been cancelled. The Communist Party wants to quote-unquote guard the capital at all costs. Beijing has one of the highest vaccination rates in the world, but it seems like China is losing confidence in its own shots. Let me show you a report. It says China is considering a foreign booster shot for its citizens. A vaccine jointly developed by a Chinese company and German vaccine maker BioNTech is under consideration. It can be used as a booster shot for those who have already taken Chinese vaccines. And this comes after Thailand and Indonesia decided to dump Chinese shots and use Western vaccines instead. So 1.5 years since the pandemic began, this is where we are, bracing for a third wave, struggling to contain new infections, debating the efficacy of some vaccines, and far from ensuring that everyone gets a shot. So here's a question. Will we ever see the end of this pandemic? Or will we have to learn to live with the virus? Earlier this year, scientific journal Nature asked more than 100 immunologists, infectious disease researchers and virologists one simple question. Can the Wuhan virus be eradicated? Do you know what they said? No. Almost 90% of the experts said no, the virus cannot be eradicated. They believe this pandemic will become an endemic, meaning the virus will not go away, it will continue to circulate, but in smaller pockets and for years to come. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.